I should have known playing Super Mario 64 was asking for trouble. It always starts innocently enough. First, you just want to experience a part of video game history. A classic Mario game, one of the best games ever made. You get your first Power Star, your second, your 10th, and you can't stop. You got the 70 Power Stars you need to end the game, but you're craving 120. And then when you finally finish the game, you still want more. You didn't learn the basic movement for nothing. You discover that Super Mario 64 is one of the most popular speed games ever made, and now it's over for you. You're performing bomb clips and BLJs, going further and further into the depths of this game's movement until you end up like me, stuck in this endless void because you've built up too much backwards speed. Damn it. If only I'd just been satisfied with saving the princess, I could have saved myself from all this pain. I love platformers. The genre is simple, easy to get into, and when the movement is just right, even the most obscene challenge can be enjoyable. My childhood was full of those licensed 3D platformers, and my teenage years are when I got to experience great 2D games like Shovel Knight and the modern Donkey Kong Country games. But the one consistent franchise that I always came back to at every stage in my life was the mainline Mario series. Despite growing up long after the NES era had ended, one of my earliest gaming memories is with the original Super Mario Bros., which I never got that far in. Super Mario Galaxy came with my Wii, and New Super Mario Bros. With my DS, so I've basically been playing Mario games for my entire life. I found that the 2D Mario games, while fun, were never really my favorite games, but that might be because I played mostly the new Super Mario Bros. Games, which are not hard, are not the high point of the franchise, and pale in comparison to other 2D platformers that I've played since. But the 3D games. I came to expect that any 3D Mario game would be nothing short of exceptional, especially after my time spent playing Super Mario Odyssey. Honestly, I never intended to play Super Mario 64 on stream. I actually wanted my first playthrough of Super Mario Sunshine, but I couldn't find the right cables to set up my Wii. I was itching for some Mario though, and although some of my memories were kept alive by the active speedrunning community and my own first playthrough of the game back in high school, I didn't remember everything about Super Mario 64, and I'd never collected all 120 stars before. So while I didn't approach this playthrough with the same level of enthusiasm that I usually do because it wasn't a completely new experience, there was enough unremembered content and enough of a positive impression from my previous Mario experiences that I fully expected to have a good time. Much to my surprise, my first few hours of gameplay were positive but very frustrating. Super Mario 64 is one of the first 3D platformers ever made. It's truly revolutionary and has a lot of elements that are very well designed, but it has noticeably aged, especially in the controls department. Mario's core movement initially feels very clunky. Some of Mario's abilities are completely dependent on momentum, meaning your button presses can yield unexpected results because you're moving just too quickly or too slowly. The worst momentum mechanic was Mario's turn radius. He can't turn on a dime if you're not standing exactly still, leading to moments where he would simply walk in a direction I didn't input in order to turn towards the input I did give, promptly walking off an edge. The camera moved on its own and offered only limited controls, complicating Mario's movement, and when the camera was at its worst, it was difficult to even walk in a straight line. You can get used to how Mario moves in this game, and I can't fault the game too much for this given when it was released, but the consequences of the awkward momentum mean that even the simplest tools in Mario's moveset have a learning curve associated with them. Let's compare this to Celeste, which I consider to be one of the greatest games ever made. In that game, Madeline's core movement is very simple and intuitive. She can jump, dash, and climb with just one button press, which takes seconds to learn because it all works as you'd expect. Your actions on screen feel as though they occur immediately when you press the button. Madeline accelerates very quickly and you have perfect control of her in the air, and nothing can ever change what your core movement buttons do. Bringing this to a 3D example, Mario's movement in Super Mario Odyssey is far snappier than his 64 counterpart. While he still has noticeable acceleration, his jumps and dives don't fundamentally change their functions based on their momentum. You can see how he starts slow but very quickly reaches top speed, so it's easier for the player to feel in control of their jumps. Inputting the opposite direction causes Mario to slide to a stop and quickly turn around. Mario goes exactly where the player tells him to go. This design is liberating to a player because their simple actions are simple. You never have to be concerned that you'll fail a difficult sequence solely because the most basic action you can take in that sequence is also easy to mess up. To be clear, I'm not saying that Celeste and Mario Odyssey have dumbed down their movement in any way. Both these games and Super Mario 64 have some complicated advanced maneuvers hidden underneath their core moveset. The difference though is that in Super Mario 64, it takes more practice before you can even begin to attempt the difficult movement. There's more precision needed for every action, which is why Super Mario 64 was harder to approach. Now, I think basic movement being complex is unquestionably a bad thing that leads to some serious frustrations, but it was satisfying to improve my skills. I just think that satisfaction should come from learning more difficult things than a side somersault or a consistent triple jump. Getting past my issues with movement though, Super Mario 64 is an extremely charming game with interesting, diverse levels. The courses are visually distinct with unique objectives and mostly enjoyable challenges. The graphics may be nowhere near the quality we see from later N64 games, and we do get the odd platform that's just a barely textured shape. But for the most part, there's obvious care put into the feeling of the visuals of each course. The soundtrack is excellent and full of energy, though it's restricted by hardware limitations. It was really interesting going back to the soundtrack with a more refined ear after learning a ton about audio production, noticing the obvious heavy compression and occasionally rough instrument synthesis, and then recognizing the immense quality that the soundtrack still had despite its restrictions. The audio and visual presentation of Super Mario 64 has aged, but in this case, it's aged gracefully. One thing that hasn't aged at all though is the core structure of the game. Between multiple courses opening up at once, the castle's secret stars, and the courses themselves being so open, the player is given lots of choices in which power stars they collect, allowing them to choose for themselves what content is optional. And when content is optional, platformers become more fun because the developers are allowed to put harder challenges in. If the difficulty of Super Mario 64 peaked with the second floor, I think the game would be worse off. Tall Mountain presents more challenging platforming than before, but its objective design has the player just climb to the same summit 4 times. Tiny Huge Island has excellent objectives, but some of its difficulty comes from how cumbersome the terrain is to navigate. Wet Dry World is just tedious. These levels are excellent but flawed in how they handle ramping difficulty. Compare that to Tick-Tock Clock, an endgame level with difficult platforming that pushes the player further and further, demanding more comfort with Mario's movement than anything that came before, while feeling immensely rewarding to explore if you've really understood how Mario moves. The beauty of how much choice the player is given means you can skip the hardest, most frustrating, or worst stars in the game, and instead choose to engage with the best stars, the excellent sense of exploration, the strong linear platforming challenges, and the outstanding basement courses. Super Mario 64 is a piece of gaming history, and while it may show its age in some places, the qualities that made it a masterpiece back in 1996 still shine through. Playing it for the first or second time today, the clunky controls sap some of the fun initially, and make the weakest stars much more frustrating. I won't pretend Super Mario 64 is a perfect game, but most of the issues this game has are with those moments of unfamiliarity with the controls. The game underneath that rough interface is exceptional. I think Super Mario 64 is an experience worth having. It's a great game whose main fault is that it was one of the first 3D platformers. I think anyone can have a great time playing this game, whether you're a casual enjoyer of game history, a platforming veteran, or maybe even a speedrunner. Well, I guess this is my life now. Sitting in the void. Forever. Wait, what's that? Oh no. Oh my goodness, my backwards speed made me move so fast and far through the void that I actually ended up in some sort of parallel universe. And it's such a lovely parallel universe too, because in this parallel universe, everyone follows me at twitch.tv/Quintic and also has subscribed to the YouTube channel for more reviews, guides, and edited highlights like this video. Wow, what an incredible thing to... I can't finish this bit. It's actually too stupid. I can't put this in the video. Oh my god.